Hey, I'm really sorry for the incredibly spooky lighting. It's getting like, it's not even noon yet, and there's no light in here. And I'm sure that other people in the area, like Exploding Popsicles, Loki's Gift, like vouch for me here. It is raining, it is cloudy as hell. It is like 45 degrees here in wonderful Wisconsin. Anyway, so I have all these questions already that people are asking, and so I want to get right into it so I don't get like caught behind if the light's changing. It's because I'm switching screens around. Da, 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 da. Probably should have had this pulled up before I started, huh? Okay, so the first question is, I'm in search of some hedge crossing resources and visualizations. How do you achieve crossing yourself? This is from Utterly Impossible. First of all, Utterly Impossible, I'm not sure about the second part of your question because I'm not going to read it, but that's not happening or going on. I don't know, maybe you looked at an old post. But anyway, um, so when I do hedge crossing, I actually have a post on it. I think it should be linked to my hedge crossing along the left-hand side of my blog. If not, then I'll just reiterate here. Hedge crossing to me is essentially being in contact with or putting myself in sort of like a trance state where I'm able to communicate with essentially spirits of the human dead who have passed on. It's not always me like traveling to another world. It's certainly not astral travel or what Tumblr describes as astral travel by any means. I'm not really affiliated or associated with that aspect of Tumblr or pagan practice. Sometimes it's more of them contacting me, sometimes it's more of me contacting them, or sometimes it's just sort of like a weird collision where, these things come together. If I'm intentionally doing it, I will do it through a number of ways. It may be something like what I would consider light work, which is tarot or a pendulum, or sometimes using like a voice recorder, which in sort of the ghost hunting world is any sort of EVP equipment, which you can just use a digital recorder or even a tape recorder for that. If I'm doing heavier stuff, I will typically use some sort of like drum beat or beats to put myself into a trance. Hypnosis DVDs or CDs are a good way to train your body into getting into that like mental space, and then you can have a friend record the words and the sounds that you need. I know Cheshire Pope did that for me when I was younger, and he may actually be willing to do it for you too if there's a specific type of hypnosis or meditation that you'd like to use. Sometimes it happens involuntarily, like through dreams or through sort of that state between dreaming and being awake. Of course, be aware that that may also be an issue of like mental health or sleep paralysis, so just be very like skeptical of experiences that you have. But I would say that I'll just go through like one example so that it makes a little bit more sense. So let's say I'm using a scrying mirror because that's something that I use a lot. And the scrying mirror is not magical in and of itself. It's simply a focal point for you, for your eyes, giving your eyes something to fix on. And so if I'm planning on communicating with someone in particular, I will typically write that person's name down and their information, or try to have something like a picture of them or an item that was theirs nearby. I will turn off all my lights, which I really don't need to do now because it's, really dark in here anyway. But if I do light candles, they're typically further away from me and somewhere behind me because that will eliminate glare. And glare, I don't know, it just sort of pulls me out of that space. If you like glare, if you like the idea of being able to see the flame light in your glass, that's totally fine too. I will turn on maybe like binaural beats or drum beats or some sort of music that I feel comfortable and safe with, something that's not going to be interrupted with commercials. And then I essentially prepare myself with maybe some incense or some sort of I don't know, something to like put me more into that space, whatever that may be for you. For me, it's typically incense or lighting more candles or something. Then I'll sit down in my cozy chair. I usually use this chair. It's got a supportive back and sides so that if I were to fall over or if I were to fall out of the chair, I would be completely fine. I wouldn't hurt myself. That's something maybe you want to sit on the floor with a few cushions behind you and beside you, because obviously trance work can be very exhausting. You may fall asleep, and that's not a bad thing. It happens. It's happened to me before. And then essentially what you want to do is you want to look into the glass, totally relax yourself. If you want to use a meditation CD or something just to learn and to practice putting yourself into the right headspace, that's totally fine. And it's almost as if you're focusing on looking through the glass, like you're looking into the glass as if it's deeper than what it actually is, because that'll help unfocus your eyes. And when you first start, you really only want to do it for 5, 10, 15 minutes. And I would say this for any sort of scrying, not specifically scrying to cross the hedge. And you do sort of want to focus on, you may in this relaxed space, say aloud, I am welcoming the spirit of a specific person or spirits around me if they are benevolent or gracious or want to see me and speak to me. And then sitting in silence while it's very hard is very important. Giving whatever is around you time to speak it's very difficult because it feels sort of silly the first few times you do it, but you may eventually, after trying this a few times, after 10 or 15 minutes, you might feel sort of hazy. You might feel emotions that you just don't quite know if they're your own or not. You may smell perfumes or cigarettes or like metal burning, different scents that may be of importance to these spirits or whatever. You may hear snippets of sentences or words murmuring, knocking noises, tapping noises, footsteps in a house that's empty, cabinets opening or closing, or just like sounds of domestic life continuing around you if you're the only person that's home. So, or sometimes like visual images of a house or a person or a place that you're just not really familiar with. So, to me, the most important thing, no matter how the session goes for you, is that afterwards, you say, thank you very much for your time. I am leaving now. If there anything lastly that you'd like me to know, and then you just sort of close that space. If you feel like you need to use any sort of protection or warding, that's completely fine and up to you. I've never had an issue with that before. But then right after a session, I may eat some chocolate or drink some water, go lay down in bed and call someone. I think it's really important to then connect yourself back to our physical world, because sometimes you can just sort of lull on through your day not feeling entirely here, especially if you do multiple sessions in a row, which is something that you may start doing after you've been experienced for a little while. It's really important to talk to someone, to call someone, maybe watch commercials on TV. Anything that sort of brings you back into the physical, like our space, is really important. And then write down everything. Honestly, keeping a journal of your experiences, whether you're doing tarot or scrying or you're crossing the hedge, those things are always really important. Basically I use the same format for every type of scrying, or not scrying, hedge crossing. The only one that's really different is if I'm crossing the hedge with other people, which I've only done twice. When not ghost hunting. Otherwise, every time I go ghost hunting, I sort of consider that crossing the hedge if we experience something with other people. And in that case, it's a lot more talkative, it's a lot more casual, it's a lot less serious, and the results are typically not as strong. I don't know, that's just my experience though. And if you guys want me to talk more about ghost hunting, certainly ask those questions, but I'm not going to merge those two things together here, only because I know some people get really touchy about it, but that's okay. I hope that was helpful for you. If you have any more specific questions about hedge crossing using a scrying mirror, or again, the scrying mirror, like I said, it's just a tool, so you could supplement in a bowl of water, you could use smoke, you could use a candle flame, you could use a crystal ball, you could really use anything. So I hope that was helpful to you, and utterly impossible. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to follow up with those.